keep on winning. Currently 5 out in the Central, 4.5 out on the wild card. The task will be tough, but the good news is 7 of their remaining games are against Detroit and Kansas City. But first, 3 games with the Twins, and the Indians will try to jump on their Central Division rivals early. Next on Sports Time Ohio. Series to wrap up the homestand. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Yesterday, not pretty. The Indians were beaten up by the Angels. They've got to win. Bottom line, they're chasing. They can't afford to give any games away. They've got the Twins coming in here. Obviously, a Central Division foe. It won't be easy. The Indians have only gone 7-6 against Minnesota despite their last place status, so we'll see how that plays out. One thing we know for sure, from a consistency standpoint, the Indians can count on number 23. Michael Brantley has been good from day one, and he has provided punch, he has provided batting average, he's provided runs batted in.
He's really done it all. He has been a treat to watch this year. I don't know where the Indians be without Michael Brantley this year. He goes in there. He is the guy, and he can't do it by himself. He's going to need some help down the road, but you can see 6th in batting average, 171 hits. That's tied for 2nd. He hits with runners in scoring position. If Michael doesn't do it, it seems like it doesn't get done.
He's very quietly put himself in the conversation, at least, for American League Most Valuable Player Award honors. Indians and Twins. The play-by-play as Trevor Bauer toes the rubber for the Tribe is coming up next. McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. By Panini's, get overstuffed at Panini's Bar and Grill. And by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. And welcome into Progressive Field on an overcast evening in downtown Cleveland. Indians and the Twins getting ready to start a 3-game series. Critical for the Indians at this time of year. They're 74-68. The Indians start the day 5 out in the American League Central Division. And, of course, when you look at the wild card standings, 4.5 back of Detroit and Seattle. Actually, 4 back of Detroit, 4.5 back of Seattle. All right, let's take a look at the starting lineup now for the Minnesota Twins under Ron Gardenhire, brought to you by Toyota. Jordan Schaefer in the leadoff spot, followed by Brian Dozier. Then it's Joe Mauer. Kenny Vargas will DH and bat cleanup. Trevor Plouffe, Oswaldo Arcia, Kurt Suzuki, Eduardo Escobar, and Aaron Hicks.
Our GMC starting pitcher, Trevor Bauer, on the mound, making his 23rd start. In his last start, he had a 15 1/3 consecutive scoreless string snapped in the very first inning against the Detroit Tigers, where he was roughed up for 4 runs, 4 hits, 3 walks in the top half of the first inning. And really, it was almost like a game he pitched in Minnesota the last time he faced the Twins back on August 19th, where he gave up 5 first-inning runs, settled down. So it's going to be key for him to get out there, throw first pitch strikes, establish a fastball, and everything should take care of itself. Let's check the defense behind him. It'll be the Kia defense tonight. It'll be Brantley on left, the corners in center, Murphy over and right, Chisenhall at third, Ramirez at short, Kipnis at second, Santana at first, Gomes doing the catching.
Alfonso Marquez calling the balls and strikes. Mark Ripperger is at first. Ted Barrett, your crew chief, at second. Paul Schreiber down at third. Same crew that was here for the one game between the Indians and Angels yesterday, and they'll just stay and work through this 3-game series between the Indians and the Twins. So we're ready to go. Minnesota comes in 61-82. They've lost 4 straight, 8 out of their last 10.
Coming off a 4-game sweep against the Angels back in Minnesota before yesterday's off day.
On the year, Minnesota has gone 3-4 against the Indians here in Cleveland, and 6-7 overall on the season. Here we go. Trevor Bauer with a fastball in for strike 1.
Trevor Bauer, a much different pitcher in this ballpark compared to the road. An ERA of 2 runs lower here. 4-2 and a 3.32 ERA at home.
Game time temperature 75 degrees under overcast skies. Important for Bauer to try and establish that fastball here at the outset. He had a good first pitch fastball for strike 1. Now he's misfired on back-to-back pitches.
It was almost like Corey Kluber, if you remember his last outing, he went back to the basics, and he just really, that first time through, established that fastball and didn't mess around. Moved it in and out and had a really good feel before he got into all his other pitches. See if Bauer, was taking note.
It's not just simply throwing fastballs.
No,
it's being able to
right.
command it, which is ultimately the key. It's not just, hey, just throw fastballs.
Correct.
Now the 2-2. Tried a breaking ball and missed. Full count.
Because Bauer's ERA in the first inning is 6.55. He's got a 4.50 ERA in the second inning.
And now that we've got a body of 22 starts to work with, those numbers start to mean something now. It's not just, well, a couple of times he's had a rough start or a couple of times. An ERA that high over the course of 20-plus starts tells you something isn't working early in games for Trevor Bauer, and he walks the leadoff man to start tonight. He's been tremendous at being able to put early struggles behind him and get you through the middle innings of a ball game. That is certainly something you take your cap off to him for, because he doesn't just cave in and he's out of the game in the second inning.
But you got to get better. That's his 13th walk in the first inning this year, and this is his 23rd start. So he just has problems, and it seems like he never settles in until he gets to that third inning, or feels comfortable. And it's not from lack of effort. He's out on the field at 6:20 for that 7:05 game to, get loose and do his work and his routine.
Another fastball sails high, 1-0. Brian Dozier with 20 homers and 20 stolen bases on the year. 99 runs scored on the year for Dozier. Tied for the league lead. Takes a strike here. He's on pace to score as many runs this year that would rank him 7th most in club history.
Yeah, this kid's had a nice year. And the Twins offense, I'll tell you, from the August 1st, they've done a remarkable job scoring runs.
Runner goes, and a pitch is popped up back out of play. Now, the other thing Dozier does is maintain plate discipline. He won't chase many bad balls. He's drawn, 83 walks. Tied for 4th?
Yeah, he's 4th. Behind Santana, Giancarlo Stanton, and Jose Bautista.
Now, those guys all hit home runs. You don't think of Dozier as a home run guy, and yet here he is with 20.
Yeah.
In a park, primarily, that he plays in, Target Field, that doesn't yield a lot of home runs.
Well, you just look at Brian Dozier and you don't think home run hitter. You think, okay, a second baseman, he's very good defensively, he's a good athlete. But, you figure get on base, score runs, and do your job. But he'll sneak. I mean, he can turn on a heater.
Yes, he can. We've seen it.
You try and throw that heater by him on the inside or up, he will get after it.
Jordan Schaefer gets back with a dive. He has 11 steals since coming to Minnesota via the waiver wire from Atlanta. Oh, they got him! Yes, indeed. Santana slaps the tag down, and Schaefer is erased as Paul Molitor looks into the dugout. It was close, but first base umpire Mark Ripperger immediately signaled that Schaefer was out.
Well, he tried to get too big of a lead. He was close the last time, and then he really went out there and tried to extend, and they got him on the arm, the forearm, and they just picked him off. He tried to get that extra half step, and they did get him, no question. So that erases the walk.
Yeah, now a 2-2 count for Dozier with nobody on base. Bouncing ball to short. Jose Ramirez will throw him out, 2 down. Our keys to the game brought to you by Wayside Furniture. For Trevor Bauer, avoid the early trouble we were talking about in middle of the order protection. Joe Mauer. Batting .275 on the year, takes a strike. Mauer this year has batted .391 against the Indians. That's 9 for 23. And that's about par for the course because over his career, Mauer has hit to the tune of .341 against the Indians. And he's got enough at bats now that virtually he's played an entire season worth of Major League Baseball just against the Indians. 460 at bats. Swing and a miss. He got him. No, ball hit the dirt. It'll be a foul, and Mauer stays alive.
Well, everybody's running off the field. They got to U-turn and go back to their positions.
Got a piece of it. I thought maybe Gomes caught it clean, but must have just hit the dirt before it. Oh, yeah.
Yep. Sure did. It did. Curveball. It doesn't look like you got a piece of it.
I was thinking the same thing, Rick.
When I don't know why it's so difficult on a swing like that. It never looks like you get a piece of it, even though you might hear it.
The 0-2. Swung on and missed. Bauer strikes him out anyway. So he walks the leadoff man, picks him off, and cruises through the first. Lineup brought to you by Progressive. Michael Bourne, Jose Ramirez, and Michael Brantley at the top. Carlos Santana, Jason Kipnis, and Lonnie Chisenhall, who's caught fire in his last 15 games. Yan Gomes, David Murphy, and Zach Walters will round it out.
Our GMC starting pitcher, Trevor May, is 6'5", 215, making his 6th career start, his 7th appearance tonight. He is coming off a win against the White Sox, where he went 5 innings, 6 hits, and 3 runs. Got his first major league win. You got to make sure that this guy throws strikes. Let's check out the key of defense behind May tonight. It's Schaefer in left, Hicks in center, Arcia in right, Plouffe at third, Escobar at short, Dozier at second, Mauer at first, Suzuki behind the plate.
Michael Bourne looks at a fastball for strike one.
Trevor May came to the Minnesota Twins from Philadelphia along with Vance Worley in exchange for Ben Revere.
Now the 1-1. Breaking ball in the dirt.
He's a fastball, curveball, changeup guy. In his very first start this year against Oakland, at Oakland, he pitched 2 innings and allowed 7 walks. Yeah, so you'd figure he had to be nervous. He had to be scared. He settled down. In his last 3 starts, he's pitched much better as far as finding the strike zone, but he's 3-1 here to Bourne.
Yeah, after that 7-walk performance, he hasn't come close to that since. So you have to figure some of that was attributable to nerves. Though he walks Michael Bourne to start today, and that's not a good sign for the Twins. With more on this right-handed starter for Minnesota, let's bring in Katie Witham.
Well, Matt, Minnesota's looking at Trevor May as part of the pitching solution to next season. He earlier this year actually had a calf injury that kept him out of the Futures game, and they've seen that he's had a little bit of a learning curve since coming up to the big leagues in early August. As you mentioned, though, he's done very well as of recently. He's struck out 18, and coming in today had only walked 2 in his last 3 starts.
Well, that's all well and good, but now he's thrown 6 pitches, and 5 of them have missed the strike zone. Jose Ramirez batting .245 on the year, but Ramirez has swung the bat much better of late. Last 24 games, Jose hitting at a .298 clip.
There you go. You slow him down. Suzuki called the changeup. First time that he has faced any Indians hitters.
The 1-1. Fouled right back. Yeah, the other thing that jumps out at you when you look at Trevor May so far in his starts is he hasn't gotten deep into games. Now, whether that's a matter of, a product of his inability to throw strikes or simply a limited pitch count, we'll have to wait and see. The 1-2, out of play. Last time out, he got his first major league win. He pitched 5 innings, but he had only made 78 pitches.
Well, yeah, you look at it. The most he's ever thrown in a start, Matt, 99. That came against the Tigers in 5 1/3. So I think they're stretching him out as the year goes on. He's a young kid, 24 years old, soon to be 25.
Now the 1-2 pitch, yanked to first into the glove of Mauer. 2 quick outs.
Well, similar start by both pitchers. You walk the leadoff man. Trevor Bauer picks him off. Trevor May gets the double play. Again, this is the second straight day we've seen this. A line drive when a guy's off at first base and there's nothing you can do.
So 2 quick outs. And Michael Brantley comes to the plate. Stat of the game brought to you by Buick. In the month of September, Michael Brantley, over the last 2 seasons, combining that now, batting .365.
Yeah, well, I expect Brantley to finish strong because we have so many home games left. At home, he's sitting .352 on the year. So why wouldn't that continue in these 3 games and then the remaining 6 that we play here after this road trip?
So far this month, Michael's hitting .419 in the month of September. But you go back to last year and how well he swung the bat down the stretch. You're right, though. It's just been a matter of consistency all season long for Brantley.
You don't see many hitters like him. I mean, it's a rarity. He never changes. It's the same thing day in and day out. It doesn't matter who's out there, what team you play.
Up the middle, slowly chopped, though, and the shortstop Escobar is there, and the Indians are out. No score after 1. Baseball is brought to you by your Northern Ohio Honda dealers. by the Cleveland Clinic. Call today for an appointment today. And by the Northeast Ohio Ford Dealers. Second inning, Kenny Vargas to lead off for Minnesota. This young man has plenty of power potential. He's hit 7 home runs so far this year. Swings and fouls it back. For Vargas, this marks the 37th game that he has played. So 7 homers in 36 games, covering 152 at-bats. Not too shabby.
Yeah, 33 RBIs it has there from August 1st. So not too shabby is right. They've done a nice job scoring.
Vargas, a big dude at 6'5", 275. He's a switch hitter. Just turned 24 years old a month ago.
He showed how big and strong he is when we were in Minnesota. When you're that big, the ball seems to jump off your bat. Swinging room there. You start and you just hold up and check, and that ball went deflected and went screaming into the seats.
And the 2-2. Down on the dirt, full count. And while it may have been a long time ago now, looking back, I'm sure that the sting of letting David Ortiz just walk all those years ago probably resonates, and you get a young player, you're going to give him maybe more opportunities after something like that happens.
Well, this kid being a switch hitter, yeah, you certainly might.
Left field, 1 away. Don't forget, you can tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STOFanPhoto for a chance to have it shown during one of our telecasts. It's all courtesy of AT&T. Trevor Plouffe, .251 batting average with a dozen homers and 71 driven in.
Well, you look at him, and he has 40 doubles this year, which that's the most ever by a third baseman by the Minnesota Twins. You remember Corey Kosky, he had 37 twice, but they were indoors on that turf.
Yeah.
You know, doubles came at a premium. It was easy to get doubles done. This guy's he's had a nice year for him. But against the Indians, you can see in the 13 games, they've had his number, 17 strikeouts, just 5 RBIs, and a couple of them were big RBIs the last time they faced him in Minnesota. Off Corey Kluber, a double down the line, where they ended up taking the lead.
Now 1-2. Breaking ball into the glove of a leaping Ramirez. 2 down.
That ball had to have some movement on it because he started to jump up, and then all of a sudden he had to move his whole hand and glove, didn't he? Let's see if he this is our Wendy slow motion catch. Look at the top spin. He's jumping in that ball. Wow, I'll tell you what, there wasn't much room, was there?
It was hooking back toward left field.
Yeah.
Oswaldo Arcia steps in. Good pitch by Bauer. You got to straighten this guy up. He's got tremendous power.
Yeah, if you go in off the plate and pitch him away. He's got tremendous power to pull. Make him beat you the other way with that. That's a good pitch. Came in fastball, move him back, go out there away. He was in a pretty good groove where he had homered in, 4 straight games the last time we were in Minnesota, and he had the long ball stroke working.
Yeah, he homered in 3 straight games, August 17th, 18th, and 19th.
Okay.
And this is another guy that, against the Indians, this year, batted .333. And the last couple of years, .270. Couple of home runs against the Tribe this year. Now the 1-2 pitch. Bounced the breaking ball in front of the plate. And the count evens at 2-2.
Well, the one thing I like so far, Bauer has 4 0-2 1-2 counts to this point. This is hitter number 6. I know he likes it. Mickey Callaway.
Got him looking with a fastball at the knees on the outside corner. Couple of strikeouts for Bauer. No score, middle of the second.
To follow the September pennant races with MLB.com at bat. It's the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy live look-ins, replay reviews, scores, live radio broadcasts, the MLB TV game of the day, and more. Get at bat for your smartphone or tablet on the App Store or visit Indians.com.
We go now to the home half of the second. And Carlos Santana will lead off for Cleveland. Trevor May righted the ship after struggling at the outset. Walked the leadoff man, was behind Ramirez. But then Jose hit a scorching line drive right into the glove of Joe Mauer at first, who doubled off Bourne to end the potential threat. Roped down the right field line. Arcia over, he'll be able to cut it off, and Santana has a leadoff single here in the first inning. The only question is, would he hit it over Joe Mauer's head? See Mauer leap up. Jason Kipnis. Kipnis has picked up a hit in 3 straight games now. This year, Minnesota has limited him to 7 hits and 34 at-bats. But that has been the exception so far in Jason's career. All told, he's a .292 hitter against Minnesota with 5 career home runs.
Well, he had some kind of year against them last year. What do you have, about over 20 RBIs against the Twins? Loved to hit against them last year.
Upstairs, 2-0, 3-0 rather. Taking all the way, and on the outside corner, it's a called strike. Out of play. So from 3-0 to 3-2. The payoff pitch. Out of play again. Again, the runner holds and a 3-2 fouled back as Kipnis stays alive. Driven to deep right center field. That's in the gap, and that will one-hop the wall. Santana comes into third. He'll have to stop there. It's a double for Jason Kipnis, and the Indians have runners at second and third with nobody out. A terrific at-bat for Kipnis, who kept fouling pitch after pitch off. Finally got one he could handle and really barreled it up.
Well, he kept throwing him fastballs, and sooner or later you're going to get it. And Jason does just that. Plugs the gap into right center field. It'll be his 24th double. And he had a great year against them last year where he had 6 doubles. That's going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. He had 4 triples, 4 homers. So now the inning's set up for the Indians to score early.
Lonnie Chisenhall is the batter, and he has been smoking lately. Swung at a ball in the dirt. He's got a hit in 11 of the last 15 games. Batting at a .340 clip. Takes a strike. Lonnie drove in all 3 of the Indians' runs yesterday in their loss to the Angels. Interesting, May fell behind Kipnis 3-0. He comes back and he's 0-2 to Chisenhall. Bounces at the short, that'll get the run home. Chisenhall is retired, but he picks up his 56th run batted in on the year, and the Indians will play from in front as they grab a 1-0 lead. And also important on the play, Kipnis, because of the nature of the bounce of the ball, able to go to second and third.
Yeah, that's the big play there. You not only get the run home, but you get the runner from second to third. And that's what Lonnie did when he was down. It seems like he gave up, himself just to get that runner in. So that's a good job. Now you give a free at-bat to Yan Gomes. And they're bringing the infield in.
And Yan Gomes trying to snap an 0 for 7 at the dish. Gomes has hit 306 to be exact against the Twins this year. But how about this? 11 hits against Minnesota. 4 of those 11 have left the yard.
Making them count.
Blowing away, 2-0. Such is the inconsistent nature of a young starter. 3-0 to Kipnis, 0-2 to Chisenhall, now 2-0 to Gomes.
And then when he came back from Kipnis, it was, I think 5 straight fastballs.
Yeah.
So let's see if he comes back with a 2-0. That's what you look for when you're on the bench. You've never faced a guy. What do you throw in hitters' counts?
That fastball almost took off on Suzuki. He did well to just glove that one, 3-0.
Well, and here you go. You got to look fastball the rest of the way, don't you? Even though he's missed. So vital for young pitchers is to command your fastball because everything else comes off of that.
Takes and borderline called a strike.
It's borderline, but you can't swing at it. Now, as the hitter, if you're Gomes, you're looking for something to drive with the infield in. They're sitting down and away, and he throws it up and in. So you can see the command issues for May is he's got a lot to work on.
The 3-1 fastball hit down the right side, but out of play.
You know, that's where you'll see Suzuki. You can, as a catcher, you can make the calls, but you're not going to sit on the outside edges. You're going to pretty much sit middle of the plate and let him throw to the target. And if the ball happens to move, let it move as it may.
And the 3-2, breaking ball, fouled away.
Okay, that's the first time he's come off the fastball, and it was on a 3-2 pitch. First pitch was a breaking ball, too, that he fell behind.
And the 3-2 to Gomes. Golf to right field. Back goes Arcia. He'll make the catch. Tagging and coming home is Jason Kipnis. 2-0 Cleveland. Gomes RBI number 58. So good fundamental offense for the Indians here in inning number 2.
That's how important, getting that other runner is over, because a sacrifice fly gets you another run. So now you get a crooked number as opposed to just getting the one run. Gomes did a nice job of getting that low fastball and driving it the other way. So the Indians, you're right. Good fundamental baseball in this inning to put 2 on the board.
Curveball down and in, he missed. Murphy shoots it fair over the bag at third. Hits the rolled up Tart. And Murph's going to have to hurry, and he'll make it in there safely with a 2-out double.
Second double in the inning. And that ball looked like it might have hit chalk. That's how close it was. But we've seen Murphy take that pitch away and do that a number of times. Look at this. Right over the bag, and it lands a couple inches in fair territory. So a 2-out double now will give Walters an opportunity to try and add to that 2-0 score.
Walters checks on the ball in the dirt. Zach Walters has 13 hits since coming to the Indians. 7 of those have been for extra bases, 6 homers and a double. I think like any good power hitter or hitter who has power, the one thing Walters will have to learn as he goes along is you don't want to take a guy's aggressiveness away, but at times, Rick, he flails away at balls that aren't even close.
Well, there's not too many times you see him take a pitch. If he can't reach it, then he takes it. But I'll tell you what, if it's around the zone, he's going to let it go. Very aggressive hitter. You know, and when he first came over here, he ran into a few pitches down in the zone and got off to such a great start. You certainly can't keep it up like that, but he has some very good pop. He's got some power in that bat.
Boy, that was close pitch. 3-1.
Well, now you can zero in, look for that fastball, look at it down. Let's look at this pitch here. Well, he didn't get the call from Alfonso Marquez, but it's a pretty good pitch, and it's tough when you're not throwing strikes and you don't get them, but that's what happens if you're all over the place.
Pop back out of play, a full count. Well, this has been one of those problems for Trevor May so far this year. And granted, it's a pretty small sampling, but with 2 outs in an inning this year, opposing hitters are batting .441 against him.
Well, there you go. He had the second out. Murphy doubles, and now he's working deep. He's at 42 pitches already here in the second.
And the 3-2 strikes out Walters to get out of the inning. But the Indians strike for 2. Santana and Kipnis start it with hits. Chisenhall and Gomes bring them home. Nothing as we head to the third. Hitters 7, 8, and 9 for Minnesota. Trevor Bauer's last start came against the Detroit Tigers, and after 1 inning, he had made 38 pitches in that game. Tonight he's made 30 pitches through 2 innings, and certainly that's a good step forward for Bauer, who's trying to shake the early inning blues.
Yeah, the first 2 are usually his problems, and this is when he usually settles in. 19 of his 31 pitches have been for strikes.
And remember, everybody's entitled to a clunker every now and then. And, Corey Kluber had one recently. But Bauer had pitched back-to-back games against Houston and Kansas City in which he did not allow a run.
Yeah.
Before he had the first inning problems against Detroit. Now he's right back on track here today.
Well, 15 and a third consecutive scoreless innings. Salazar had the same thing going into yesterday's game. You know, he ended up 21 and then had dropped to 6th spot.
Out of nowhere yesterday.
Yeah.
Just lost his fastball command, and it happened in a hurry.
That's what happens with young guys. You go, wait a minute, what just happened here? But, the Indian starting pitching has been so good. It's been fun to watch. And they've been feeding off each other. And that's where, on the other side, the Minnesota Twins have really struggled. When you look at their starters, if you look at Hughes and Gibson on their side, they're 26 and 19 with a 388 earned run average. And there's another strikeout for Bauer.
Well, let's go down to Katie. She's got something to add on Trevor Bauer and what he's been doing lately to get himself on track early in games.
Well, Matt, it's not hard to see that Trevor Bauer is a big competitor. So what the Indians did, they implemented consequences in his side session for not throwing first pitch strikes. We've talked before about how important that is for Bauer. So essentially, he and Mickey Callaway sat down and they created a game where if Bauer starts the count 0-1, he's able to move on and work in other pitches to the hitter in his side session. If he doesn't and he starts out 1-0, the game's over and they restart. They're hoping to see the effects and the results of that in tonight's start.
Well, it's a good idea. Anything you can do to drive home the point you're trying to coach always is an effective means of teaching. Swing and a miss. That's 3 strikeouts in a row now for Bauer. 2 down here in the third inning. And we'll bring up Aaron Hicks.
There's the curveball. This is the one he gets people to swing at when he's ahead in the count. He spikes that curveball an awful lot early in the game. And I know Gomes has got to be going crazy, but...
Well, it's okay when you want him to spike at 0-2.
Yeah, it's fine to do. It's when you're throwing it, when you have to come back to the hitters and they don't have to swing at it.
Boy, he just cruises through this third inning on only 8 pitches. And the Twins go 1-2-3. Indians lead it 2-0. Two to nothing as we go to the bottom of the third. Just a reminder as you enjoy a cold one to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite.
Boy, doesn't that taste good? Look at him. He's enjoying himself.
he got there? Fried wonton?
No.
Cotton candy, of course. Right?
Yeah, I think so. It looks like it. It's melting in his mouth, not in his hand.
Top of the order for the Cleveland Indians, Michael Bourne, who walked in the first. Low and away, 2-0.
That's his fifth 2-0 count so far tonight. And this is hitter number 10, so you can see he is falling behind a lot.
He's only walked one so far.
True. But that's a tough way to pitch.
Yes, indeed.
You know, you're a young guy. It certainly helps if you can get ahead because you can get hitters to swing at it. And they don't have to swing at some of your better pitches. Change up.
2-2.
He comes back and gets them.
He sure does. Second strikeout for May. One down here in the third.
Well, you can join the Indians on September 27th for Fan Appreciation Night right here at Progressive Field. The Tribe will take on the Rays. You can enjoy dollar dogs, fireworks, other fan appreciation activities throughout the night. It'll be September 27th. The Rays in town. That'll be closing out the season. Believe it or not. Already. You know, I was talking about it last inning. You know, Hughes and Gibson, they're 26 and 19 this year with a 388. There's a knock. Wow.
Dozier with a terrific play. And Ramirez just did beat it out. So eventually, you will get to finish that thought.
I'm not worried about it. And we got all game to do it. This ball, it was like slow motion. I can't believe Dozier got to it. That ball looked like it was going away from him. Had some spin to it, but he catches up to it. And I'll tell you, it makes a really nice play, and the speed of Ramirez just beats out. That's a good play.
Well, we've seen Ramirez a number of times hustling down the line.
Yeah, though you want those infield hits right there, and he gets it. Nice job. Good hustle, good play.
I know one of the things you remember you telling me this years ago as a hitter and as a good base runner. You want your steps always to be exactly the same as you go down the line.
If you can, yeah.
I've noticed a couple of times for Ramirez, that last lunge, he's in the air an awful long time. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it all depends. I mean, you might be watching the ball a little longer than normal, but if you go out and you run hard or you run pretty much the same speed, which should be hard all the time, you will get your timing down and your pattern where you can hit first base with the same foot every time out.
It's almost like that idea of diving head first. You kind of slow yourself down when you lunge.
Yeah.
Because you're
sometimes
suspended.
when you jump, you're watching a play, but you know he's a switch hitter, so it's different.
Good point.
You know.
Yeah. Right back up the middle, but a double play ball with the way the defense was positioned. And the inning is over. 3 complete. It remains Cleveland 2, Minnesota nothing. ClevelandSportsOhio.com while you're watching the game for a second screen experience. Chat about tonight's game with Joe Reedy and keep up with everything Indians. Jordan Schaefer going to lead it off here in inning number 4 for Minnesota. Jordan Schaefer grew up in Winter Haven, Florida.
Did he really?
Went to high school at Winter Haven High. And then the Atlanta Braves made him a third-round pick back in 2005. Swings at the first pitch here and drives it to pretty deep left field. Michael Brantley on the track pulls it down. One away.
We'll have to bring that back up. 16 years we spent down there in spring training in Winter Haven.
Yeah. By the way, in the 2005 draft, I went back. I just had to go back and look because I was thinking Jordan Schaefer was right in the Indians' backyard in terms of spring training.
Right.
Wanted to see who was selected that year. In that season, the Indians used the 14th overall pick on Trevor Crowe.
Okay, out of San Diego.
Minnesota that year had the 25th overall pick. Worked out pretty good. Matt Garza.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Clay Buchholz was the 42nd overall pick that year. Twins got Kevin Slowey with the 73rd overall pick. That was the year the Indians had a lot of high school guys and mix of college guys. And some of them had promise coming through, but they never quite made it. John Drennan, Stephen Head, Nick Weglars. That year, though, Rick, 2 picks after Jordan Schaefer, the Yankees got Brett Gardner with a 109th overall selection.
Oh, he was 2 picks after Schaefer,
After Schaefer. Jeremy Hellickson was the 118th pick by Tampa Bay.
How about that one? Diamond in the rough there.
To Jose Ramirez. 2 down. Justin Sellers, who's with the Indians now, was drafted by Oakland in the 6th round that year. 191st overall pick. The 205th selection that year in the draft in the 7th round by the Milwaukee Brewers was a young man by the name of Michael Brantley.
205th?
7th round.
Wow.
So think about all those guys I just named. All of them were selected ahead of Michael Brantley. Some of them have been pretty good. Some of them have never made it. So, again, what this goes to show you is the baseball draft, unlike any other sport,
it's a crapshoot.
It is just impossible, really impossible to predict when you make a selection. Well, this guy is going to be X. You just don't know. I'm sure there have been guys over the years who the consensus was this kid's going to be a good player.
Well, Michael just starting to come into his own. And
yeah, it takes years to develop.
Nobody knows how good he's going to become. Yeah, it does. Sometimes it takes, other kids longer than others. And
yeah.
Some people have staying power and the drive and the will to stay at this level. And once you make it, it's tough to make it to the big leagues. It's tougher to stay in the big leagues than it is to make it. Because you may get a taste or a cup of coffee, and that happens to a lot of people. But to stay here and play day in and day out, year after year, you have to be a man.
I never understood that when you first said that to me. I didn't quite register, but over the years it's sunk in that, I've seen guys who got to the big leagues, but there's nowhere to hide at this level.
Right.
And if you're not good enough, if you don't work hard enough, you'll be exposed.
Nowadays with the scouting and the, all the video and the things that go on, I mean, they have every resource at their beck and call. These players do nowadays, so you've got to work because there's a lot of other people working just as hard to get your job.
Brantley on the run, reaches down, can't make the play. It's a fair ball. And Michael appears to be okay. That was an awkward slide right at the line because where he's going down, there's no dirt there. That's that rubberized track, so you don't get a slide on that like you do with the dirt. You tend to stick, and awkward things can happen.
That ball wasn't hit that hard. It got in on Mauer, and it just died. It never had any carry to it. Michael thought he had a beat on it, And he just couldn't get there. I think that ball almost took the parachute out. Came straight down. So that'll be the first hit. That's a double for Mauer. His 24th.
And so a 2-out runner in scoring position now for Kenny Vargas. I almost think, Rick, in your era, it was maybe harder to get to the big leagues because opportunities maybe weren't afforded.
More players in the minor leagues, more minor league teams, too.
Yeah, you didn't have as many major league jobs.
Right.
With expansion yet to come. But it might be harder now at the big league level for what you just said. I mean, the scouting, every game's on television. There's no secrets.
No, there are not.
You don't sneak up on anyone.
Well, and it's a game. How many times we talk about a game of adjustments that you have to make because other teams are going to make different adjustments to you. You have to readjust constantly because different organizations do different things to you. It's not like any one team does everything the same way.
Glanced off the bat of Kenny Vargas for a foul ball. You know, I know he's maybe the exception to the rule because he's such a special young talent, but the one thing I've read about Mike Trout is that he goes to the plate with a very simple approach. He goes, I don't try to overthink it up there.
For him, yes.
And maybe it's just because it works for him.
It sure does, and good for him. I like to hear that. What'd you say about George Brett? Total concentration is what?
Thinking of nothing.
Thinking of nothing. Because you've got to block everything else out. And that rings home. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, as you said, too, you know, you've got video, so you've watched video of the starting pitching. You've got scouting reports. All this information's floating around in your head. If you go up there thinking about all those things, the old saying, paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, you got to see the baseball, find the baseball, and hit the baseball. You can think of whatever you want in there, but an empty mind is a pretty good one.
Just missed.
Because it comes through preparation and hard work to get there.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? When you do all your homework and your batting practice, your extra stuff earlier, when you get in that batter's box when the game's on the line, it's just let's react.
That's why Terry Francona said he's most relaxed right before the game starts because all the work's done.
Yes, it is. You can only prepare so much. Then it's time to, execute.
Drilled. Gapper. That's going to get home Mauer. And Murphy will scoop it up and fire it in. Kenny Vargas with a ringing 2-out RBI double to get Minnesota on the board. And they get a run back. It's now a 2-1 ball game.
Yeah, they do some damage with 2 outs here. Back-to-back doubles, the left-handers. Let's check this pitch out on our Nissan pitch tracker. That's the fastball, and he left it middle of the plate. Middle to middle in, and he turned on it. He got hurt. And that's what happens when you don't locate the fastball. So he plugs the gap. The Mauer pitch was a good pitch that he got for a double. He'll come in and score Minnesota's first run. It's now 2-1.
Trevor Plouffe hit a line drive to short his first time up. And he hits another line drive into left field. Coming around third, Vargas is going to try to score. Brantley's throw, not in time. And now into scoring position goes Plouffe, and we're tied at 2. 3 straight 2-out hits by the Twins here in the 4th inning.
Well, and now that Bauer is getting ahead of some of the hitters, that's a high breaking ball. His last 2 pitches haven't been located that well. He had Vargas down 0-2 in that count before he gave up the double. And now Plouffe just jumps on that first hanging breaking ball, drove it into left field. So they got 3 consecutive hits. They tie the ball game up. And we said this Twins offense, they have been scoring since the beginning of August.
Drilled. Look out. Goodbye. Man, this happened in a hurry. Oswaldo Arcia with a 2-out, 2-run homer, and the Twins have scored 4 consecutive 2-out runs to take a 4-2 lead.
Well, the last 3 pitches that Trevor Bauer threw have all came into hits, and it's cost him 3 runs.
He had not given up a hit until Joe Mauer had that little dying quail double.
Right.
With 2 outs in the inning.
That was the first hit.
Kurt Suzuki struck out his first time up.
That's the 13th home run given up by Bauer. And for Arcia, his 10th.
Suzuki cuts and misses at the high fastball. It's 0-2. Now, Minnesota this year, according to Stats LLC, they are averaging 4 runs a game when they play teams from outside the division. But when they're in the Central, they're averaging 5 runs a ball game.
Yeah, used to the pitcher's familiarity.
High pop, shallow left. In comes Brantley. And the inning is over. But with 2 outs, Minnesota with some thunder. 4 straight hits, 4 straight runs, and now they have the lead. Miguel Cabrera has been dealing with bone spurs in his right ankle, and it has not slowed him down. Well, I shouldn't say that. You can't slow him down much more because he's pretty slow to begin with. But it hasn't affected him.
Not in the last 3 games. And, you know, they haven't made a decision whether they're going to have surgery or not in the offseason. You would think they would. But you have to wait and see. Guy could hit in his sleep.
Carlos Santana with a single and a run scored in the second.
All right, see if the Indians have an answer now for that big 4-run fourth for Minnesota. Come right back. Don't waste any time.
Strike at the knees to Carlos Santana. Breaking ball in the dirt. And a count of ball and a strike. Changeup's becoming a pretty effective pitch for May here tonight. Seen him throw it a number of times.
I mean, his fastball's around 93, 94. Sometimes he has problem locating it, but you'll see a lot of the hitters out front. They got to crank it up to catch up to his heater. Send along some birthday wishes tonight. Heinz Tunnett of Lisbon is turning 86. Ed Kuckler is celebrating his 72nd. Happy birthday.
Almost chased after a ball in the dirt. Able to lay off. 2-2. Breaking ball missed high, full count. Fastball, wow, just missed. May looked into his own dugout as if to say, did you guys see that? Time now for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Rick. Let's head up to Detroit. The Tigers taking on the Royals. All Detroit early. 2-run homer here by Rajai Davis in the bottom of the second. His 8th of the year. Detroit up 3-0, fourth inning behind Max Scherzer. Matt?
All right, thanks, Al. Tigers can move into a tie for first if they beat the Royals tonight. All of a sudden, the Royals are having trouble in the division.
Yeah, well,
they're 500 now in the Central Division.
I was thinking tonight might be a must-win for them right now to stop that the bleeding. We'll see. They're down 3-0.
Swing and a miss by Kipnis, 1-1 to count. Jason got himself into a good count. First time out was 3-0. Then it was 3-2. Then he fouled off several pitches and then roped a double to right center. Fastball down low, 2-1.
Where's Santana going?
Low, 3-1.
So that's what happens when you fall behind, and then you got to try and throw that changeup, which he tried right there. And if you don't throw it for a strike, you fall behind 3-1, and now what do? You can't come back changeup here after just missing with it, I wouldn't think. Kipnis may get another heater.
And he draws a walk. Back-to-back free passes here in the fourth.
Well, now there's your inning setting up for you. I'll tell you, the 3-2 pitch to Santana looked like a pretty good pitch and a strike. He couldn't believe it. Then he comes back and he walks Kipnis, so he's allowed 2 base runners set up this inning after they put a 4 spot on the board with 2 outs.
So the meeting on the mound with Lonnie Chisenhall coming to the plate. Here's our great clip of the game from yesterday. Lonnie Chisenhall, liftoff.
Well, he's always had pretty good numbers against Weaver, and it didn't hurt him yesterday, driving in all 3.
He had an RBI ground out his first time up.
And actually led to the second run as well.
Yes, he did.
Moving both runners up.
Interesting, okay? He's walked the first 2. Visit from the pitching coach.
Well, if I'm a hitter, I'm sitting looking for a fastball first pitch. in this situation because he wants to get ahead of you, whatever he throws. If he throws a breaking ball or a changeup, you take it. Make him throw it for strikes. Get ready for the heater.
Threw it outside corner, strike called. Hit hard but foul, first base side. And now Chisenhall behind 0-2. Two-strike pitch. Sailed on him. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Longtime Minnesota pitching coach Rick Anderson keeping a close eye on May, and Chisenhall fouls it out of play.
Well, getting back to that thing we were talking about a couple innings ago between the Minnesota starters this year, Hughes and Gibson, they're 26-19 with a 3.88 ERA and 56 starts. The rest of the starters for Minnesota 16-43, an ERA of 5.90, and their starting staff this year has an ERA of over 5. I think that has something to do why the bullpen, a couple of weeks ago when we were there, they were doing pretty good. They weren't far behind the Indians' bullpen, but now it's taking its toll. When you got to get into that bullpen, even though it's September and you've got a bunch of arms in there, it's just tough on the guys that, especially the way they've been scoring. They've been scoring enough runs to win. They just haven't been pitching very well.
The 1-2. Lifted shallow left.
Infield fly.
The shortstop makes the grab. 1 away. Well, we were showing the Minnesota pitching coach Rick Anderson, who has been in charge in Minnesota for a long time. He began his stint as the Twins pitching coach in 2002. And since that time, Minnesota has issued the fewest walks in all of Major League Baseball by a ton.
Yeah.
Over 600 walks separate Minnesota from the closest team to them.
Well, that's think about how many times we went in there and they would be last in the league in walks. Sure, they may give up their hits, but they're not going to give any free passes.
By last, you mean fewest? Yeah, I mean it's interesting that a simple philosophy could have that profound of an impact on an entire pitching staff the way it has for Rick all these years in Minnesota. Now, granted, you have to have the arms to work with.
Well, and they never had power guys. They had guys that pitched. That went out there, control, pound the strike zone.
Yeah, outside of Johan Santana, who had a couple of really special years. But other than that, they were Brad Radke types, guys who would just
great
move it in, move it out, take a little off.
I mean, they were fun. They comfortable over 4s, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Guys like
they'll give up their hits though.
Joe Mays and Eric Milton and.
Well, you go on and on. It's not the philosophy doesn't change. It's just that some of the pitchers that come along do.
Yeah. Yan Gomes with a sac fly in the second inning. Indians trying to take advantage of 2 walks to start the inning. In the dirt, 2-1.
Well, I think you're getting a look and see why this guy only goes 5 innings or 5 to 6 innings. because he has control issues. He's at 73 pitches now, and he's going to have to work very hard here. And this is the 4th inning, after they just scored him some runs, to try and get through this inning.
The 2-1 delivery. High fly ball, shallow left. 2 down. Well, the Indians are about to let him off the hook unless they can do some 2-out damage now.
Well, you can guarantee your 2014 postseason tickets with the Tribe's Playoff Payoff program. Place a deposit on 2015 season tickets, and you can gain priority access to 2014 postseason tickets. Visit Indians.com for more details.
David Murphy doubled over the bag at third. His first time up. Looks at a ball in the dirt. Fourth inning, and the Twins lead it 4-2. A little bit low. 2-0. Out goes Kurt Suzuki. And I'm sure the message is, look, you worked so hard to get the 2 outs after walking the first 2. Don't lose it here. That was a borderline pitch called a strike. I think as frustrating as May has been maybe to watch at times for the Minnesota fans, is equally frustrating to face for the hitters because not enough strikes to give you a real good beat on where he's going.
Tough to cut it in half and look at one spot, because of the location of it. I agree.
That's low, 3-1. Zach Walters waiting on deck. Murphy awaits a 3-1 pitch. And again, he took something off. That has been his bread and butter pitch tonight. Well, changeup has been effective.
Well, you can see why they're trying to go after that fastball when they see it in the zone, but there's an effective changeup. Murphy's a good low ball hitter down and in down there, but he had enough off the heater where he couldn't catch up to it.
The runners will go on the 3-2. And he popped him up.
He worked his way out of it.
Another changeup, and the inning is over. 4 complete, 4-2 Minnesota. Riverside Toyota, a quarter-mile west of Great Northern Mall on the North Olmsted Auto Mile. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by Kia. Visit MyKiaCleveland.com to learn more. Top of the fifth, and the Indians trail at 4-2. Eduardo Escobar, Aaron Hicks, and Jordan Schaefer due up for Minnesota. Escobar struck out his first time up. First time through the order, Trevor Bauer did not allow a hit. He walked one and struck out four. Second time through, he had the first two out and then 4 straight hits, 4 straight runs. Now he's trying to get back on track.
Yeah, and Escobar been back in there at shortstop. We talked about member Santana, who's supposed to be their future at shortstop. He was playing center field the last time. He's out with some back issues.
Oh, a diving stop by Santana.
Took extra bases away right there.
One down on the fifth.
Going to his left, nice catch. That ball was smoked. Look at, he's near the line, and he just read it very well. You see that momentum in that last step as he was prepared? Everything going that way. Momentum makes the catch. Nicely done.
So Aaron Hicks, the number 9 hitter to the plate.
Here's an interesting story. This guy, after they sent him out from big league camp, he went down to the minor leagues to Double-A, and he wanted to scrap switch hitting. Well, he had a talk with Rod Carew. Carew talked him into continuing switch hitting and said Carew got on him. And he says, man, you have too much talent to be doing something like this. You better continue to do this. You're blessed with some talent. And the kid went down and took that to heart, and he played well in Double-A and got called up to Triple-A. And he's still switch hitting.
And now back here in the big leagues. Long Beach, California product. And still young at 24 years old. Two down, top of the order, Jordan Schaefer. I'll bet Jordan Schaefer's been to Andy's Igloo a few times.
Well, anybody that has been to Winter Haven, if you've never been there, go.
Bauer the wide and the 0-1. Swing and a miss at a good breaking ball. And a count 0-2. One ball and 2 strikes. You got to go to Andy's Igloo if you ever go to Winter Haven. And the other place you've got to go to is just outside of Winter Haven over near Haines City. It's a place called the Cherry Pocket. I think we talked about this before.
We have.
Yeah.
Yes. Who did we see? Oh, I know. It was Bill down in the clubhouse.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He's a fan as well. 1-2-3. Go the Twins, and Trevor Bauer gets right back on track here in the fifth. in the home opener in Cleveland. Find out what the experts think on Sunday's strategy presented by Mazda tomorrow night after the Indians game on Sports Time Ohio. Zach Walters, Michael Bourne, Jose Ramirez for the Tribe here in the 5th. Walters struck out his first time up. Missed inside. Big bouncing ball to first base. One away. In-game recap brought to you by your Toyota dealers. Indians got a pair in the second inning. Take a 2-0 lead, but boy, the Twins came back in a hurry in the 4th inning. Vargas with an RBI double, Plouffe an RBI single, Arcia a 2-run homer.
Well, and Trevor May pitched around those 2 walks last inning. We'll see how this inning finishes and what they decide to do with him. But, you know, he's settled down. He's thrown his breaking ball at times. You can see he's got a good curveball. He's got a pretty good changeup to go with it.
Swung on and missed, and Bourne strikes out again. 2 down in the 5th. And all of a sudden, May has retired 5 straight after he walked the first 2 to start the 4th inning.
There's the curveball. I don't know if it was a strike. It looked like it might have been down out of the zone, but he got Michael to chase after it. So 2 outs now in the 5th.
Jose Ramirez lined into a double play in the 1st inning and bounced a single up the middle in the 3rd. One ball and 2 strikes. Wow, look out.
Yeah, that's Katie territory down there.
Another foul back by Ramirez. In the dirt. He's fighting them off pitch by pitch. Low and inside, he missed, full count. And the payoff pitch is a foul right back. Once again, it looks like it's going to be 5 and fly for Trevor May as he's closing in on the 100 pitch mark. Line to left center field. That's in the gap. Extra bases for Jose Ramirez as he speeds into second base with a 2-out double, his second hit of the night. Gives him 7 doubles on the year.
That was a good at-bat. He fouled off some pretty good pitches to stay alive, and then he gets one down to his liking and stayed right on it, drove it into gap in left center field. That's the 3rd double for the Indians tonight. This one coming with 2 outs, and it brings Michael Brantley to the plate. So, a nice hit there by Ramirez. That's when Minnesota did all their damage with 2 outs. See if the Indians have an answer for him.
Yeah, let's see if Michael Brantley can cash in with 2 down here. Spiked it. Down to third goes Ramirez.
That's his 3rd wild pitch on the year, and this one Suzuki really didn't have a chance. And let me tell you, that was a changeup. Suzuki's one of the best at keeping the ball in front of him. But this one, he really didn't have a chance. So Ramirez moves up to third base now.
Michael Brantley this year has hit .363 overall with runners in scoring position. But even in the tough spots like this one with 2 outs, he's hit .310 on the year. That's tremendous.
Toughest hit to get right here. 2 outs, runners in scoring position.
Especially when you consider his former teammate, Asdrubal Cabrera, had 3 hits and 45 at bats with 2 outs and runners in scoring position this year.
He had a horrible year in that category.
Outside, off the plate, it's 3-0, and Carlos Santana would be next as the Minnesota bullpen gets a left-hander up and ready. Just above the belt for a strike, 3-1. Curious to see what he does here if he goes to that changeup again, which has been an effective pitch for him.
Well,
even though he's behind in the count.
It's going to be Kurt Suzuki making the call on this one. He's going to try and work this kid through this with the tough hitter Brantley at the plate.
Oh, Brantley asked for time, didn't get it, and it's ball 4.
Wow. Look at Suzuki with his head down. You know what? It may have been a strike. Let's see. Let's take a look. Brantley wanted to get time. I don't see him calling there. It was too late. Ooh. Well, what do you think?
Well, I think,
watch Suzuki.
I think because he reached to his mask or maybe a little bit above it. I think that's why he probably doesn't get the call there. I don't know why he didn't get time. It looked like he asked it.
Well, it was too late.
Was it?
Yeah, it was too late. I can see why he didn't get time. He wanted to get it, but boy, as soon as he went for time, that guy.
I'm not so sure the reason Michael didn't ask for time is because of a bug. The bugs are starting to all of a sudden come into play here at times. You see guys starting to swat them away.
Those aren't the midgets in town, are they?
I don't know. Probably. Look at Michael swatting them away.
You know what? That very well could be. I didn't realize that.
Just the way Michael reacted, it almost looked like did one fly up in his face, and he said, whoa, can I get time? But it was, as you said, it was just too late.
Well, he's on first base, so it's runners at the corners now with 2 outs. Give Santana a chance.
Carlos has singled and scored. He has also walked. Didn't mean to third, throw across the diamond in time, and the inning is over. Indians strand 2 more, and after 5, it's 4-2 Minnesota. game. And remember, you can tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STOFanPhoto for a chance to have one of your pictures shown during our telecast. It's all courtesy of AT&T. So Trevor May gets out of a couple of jams here tonight. And he goes 5 innings and allows just 2 runs. Yet to be seen if that's it for him. We'll let you know.
You would think so when you look at his pitch count for the his other starts. Yep. You would think that would do it, but we'll have to wait and see.
Brian Dozier is 0 for 2 on the night. Couple of ground outs. Arch, back on this date in 1965, Sandy Koufax threw the 8th perfect game in Major League Baseball history.
The 8th, huh? 65. I'll be darned.
It was a 1-0 win for the Dodgers over the Cubs at Dodger Stadium. The game took 1 hour and 43 minutes. And that was the year the Dodgers would roll to the pennant in the NL. They won 97 games.
Didn't they play Minnesota?
They would play the Minnesota Twins in the World Series, and that was a terrific World Series that would go 7 games. And
if I'm not mistaken, Mudcat Grant got the first win there.
He did.
He was supposed to pitch against Sandy Koufax, and he didn't pitch.
It was Yom Kippur.
Exactly. I've heard Mudcat tell that story. A number of times.
Yes,
we have.
But then on October 14th, Koufax, on just 2 days' rest, struck out 10 Twins and threw a 3-hit shutout to win Game 7 2-0 and give the Dodgers the World Championship.
2 days' rest.
How about that?
Whoever pitched him nowadays would be released.
They'd be arrested. You can't do that.
That's right.
Also on this date in 1992, Robin Yount of the Milwaukee Brewers.
There he is.
A 7th-inning single off Jose Mesa for the 3,000th hit of his career. It came against the Tribe at Old County Stadium in Milwaukee.
What a player.
What I loved about that is what his teammate at the time, Paul Molitor, said. Now, Molitor is currently the Minnesota Twins first base coach and was a phenomenal player in his own right.
Right.
But this is what Molitor said at the time. The numbers that Robin has accumulated are machine-like. He's had a couple MVP years, but it hasn't been the type of career that grabs and shakes you. You can see a Kirby Puckett or a guy like that once in a while, and you know exactly what they're all about and how much talent they have. But he said, in order to appreciate Robin Yount, you have to see him over a period of time to admire his perseverance, his endurance, and his competitive desire to win.
Well, he was a teammate of his for a long time, and he did have that opportunity to see him play. And Robin was. He was a gamer. He went out there every day, played the game the same way every day, would hustle on ground balls, would do everything.
Would you agree with that, though? If you just
Absolutely.
saw Robin once in a while, you wouldn't appreciate...
You wouldn't think he would be the great superstar that he was. Yes, I would agree with that. I had an opportunity to play with him for 4.5 years, and he was very good.
Bounced to second base, and Mauer is out number 2 here in the 6th inning.
Then on the other hand, you had Robin with over 3,000 hits, and Molitor had 3,300 too. So you're talking about 2 guys on the same team that could knock the cover off the ball.
And I don't think of Paul Molitor as being a flashy superstar player either. He was kind of a grinder that just day in and day out.
He could do it all. Quick bat, not much to his swing. Even his last year when he was with Minnesota and came up and started hitting, he had one of the shortest swings going. You couldn't get a fastball by him.
But it's almost like Molitor talking about Yount could have been talking about himself.
Could have been talking, exactly. They were both the same style.
I'm guessing neither one of them ever bumped their chest and pointed to the sky after a home run or a hit.
No, I don't think so. If they did that, that's all they'd be doing. They'd have a stiff neck from looking up as many hits as they get.
They played in an era where it was act like you've been there before.
Well, yeah. It's no big deal. You go out and you do your thing. That's what you're supposed to do. Now that you see down there, those bugs are out in full force,
sure
man.
Are.
Now that you mention it, I really didn't pay attention to it. Look, they are all over the place. It's got to be mid-season. Let me know on your way home near the lake, will you, please?
Swing and a miss. Vargas goes fishing, comes up empty, and Gomes throws him out. Half dozen Ks for Bauer. He's retired 7 in a row, but the Twins lead it 4-2. Before we do, let's go downstairs to Katie Witham. She's got some more on Indians outfielder Michael Brantley.
Matt, Michael Brantley's hit in 12 straight games, an average of 400 with 7 RBI in that span. Earlier today, Lonnie Chisenhall talked about the impact that Brantley's had this season in our Here Right Audiology Sounds of the Game.
It's fun to watch him. He's so consistent. Every time he's at the plate, and you know it's a consistent at bat. He swings at good pitches. He drives the ball all over the field, and I don't think people talk enough about his defense either. He's been huge for us in left field. He filled in center field while Borney was out for a little bit, and it's just been great having him as a teammate. He works so hard, and I look forward to seeing him get a little more credit for things in the future. And the numbers he's putting up this year don't really even come close to saying what he does for our team.
Well, it's safe to say that he is the MVP of this team, and he can be mentioned like that too. As we talked about earlier, around the league.
Jason Kipnis doubled and scored in the second. He walked his last time up. Takes a first pitch strike from Aaron Thompson. The Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen. Left-hander. '27-year-old out of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Signed as a minor league free agent 3 years ago with Minnesota and made his Twins debut on August 31st in a game in Baltimore. He went an inning and a third scoreless relief. Aaron Thompson has pitched in parts of 10 minor league seasons. Wow, look at the bugs just clinging to his hat. Down in the dirt, 2-2. The 2-2. Popped in the air, shallow center. In comes Aaron Hicks. One away.
Well, don't forget to check in during your visit to Progressive Field using the MLB.com at the ballpark app. You can download it on the app or play stores to unlock offers, rewards, and exclusive content. Learn more at Indians.com.
Lonnie Chisenhall, an RBI ground out in the second. Popped up on the infield his last time up. A 1-0, up and in. He missed 2 balls, no strikes. Up and in. 3 balls, no strikes. You get that tight shot of Aaron Thompson. It's very reminiscent of the night Jabba Chamberlain was out here in the playoffs in 07. Bug's just crawling all over his skin everywhere.
That was amazing.
I don't know how you can concentrate out there. These things buzzing around your ears and your eyes and your nose. 3-1 pitch. Lonnie bangs it foul, first base side. And a full count. Ryan Presley. Right-hander getting loose now in the Minnesota pen. Foul ball into the photo bay. Tigers lead the Royals 4-1. They're in the 5th inning in Detroit. Lonnie strikes out. 2 down here in the 6th. Friday night, the Road to Glory travels to Solon for a non-conference showdown as the Comets play host to the Willoughby South Rebels on their home turf. Join Jeff Phelps and Frank Stams for all the action. Friday night at 11, high school football on Sports Time Ohio, presented by Wayside Furniture. With 2 down, Jan Gomes to the plate. Drove in a run on the second with a sac fly, flied to left in the 4th inning. Tampa Bay leading New York 4-3. They're in the 6th inning at Yankee Stadium. New York began the day a half game behind Cleveland in the wild card chase. Lined into the glove of Trevor Plouffe to end the inning. Tribe goes 1-2-3, and we'll go to the 7th, 4-2 Minnesota. Minnesota on top. And you get a look in at Progressive Field from our Panini's Overstuffed Cam as we head now to inning number 7. And in the 7th, it will be 5, 6, and 7 due up for Minnesota. Trevor Plouffe, Oswaldo Arcia, and Kurt Suzuki. Plouffe, an RBI single with 2 down in that 4th inning, part of a 4-run burst for the Twins. It's funny. Of course, that depends on your point of view. But the Minnesota Twins have done nothing tonight out of 4 consecutive hitters with 2 outs in the 4th inning. That's it. That's all.
And when you think about it, after that double from Vargas, it was that double. On 3 pitches, they had the RBI double, RBI single, and the 2-run homer.
Very strange. 1 down here in the 7th inning. This is how fast it happened right here.
Yeah, Bauer just blooped one down the left field line and ended up falling in. Brantley over there diving for it. It was so close. And then a gapper there on a pitch. He was ahead in the count. He hung a breaking ball and then a changeup. And boom, that was it. Those last 3 hits came on 3 pitches. So actually on 9 pitches that Trevor threw tonight, they had all 4 hits and 4 runs.
Arcia pops one in the air, right center field, and David Murphy will make the catch. 2 down. You know, and the look on Bauer's face was one of just as though he were stunned.
Well, it can happen quickly. And, you know, I've seen it before in this game where 1 pitch can cost you a ball game. You know, and just a couple of pitches in that inning. He's been in total control of this game, and then all of a sudden, boom, it happened so quickly. And the Indians haven't been able to come back.
Not to the same extent, but it was similar to what happened to Danny Salazar yesterday. He's clipping along, no problems, and all of a sudden,
1 home run.
1 bad inning, and it got away from him just quickly.
Yeah, they put 6 on the board in a hurry.
2-run homer and then a 3-run homer, and the next thing you know, it was a boat race. Tribe's still right there, though, in this one. They trail it 4-2, but Bauer has been able to hold the Twins from adding to their lead. In fact, they haven't had a base runner.
Ooh, now they do. Suzuki gets hit by the pitch.
And so that is their first base runner since the homer by Arcia in the 4th inning.
That fastball gets away from him, catches him look like on the back of the arm.
Yep.
That's his 8th batter that he has hit this year. Go figure, it's a catcher. They get hit all the time.
Remember, it was in Minnesota when Suzuki got hit by the pitch. It hit Gomes in the side of the helmet, and that knocked him on the concussion list.
Yeah, that's right. Good memory. Turned out of the way.
Eduardo Escobar is 0 for 2, but the last time up, he hit a line shot to first that Carlos Santana made a terrific diving catch on.
Might put a hole in his chest if he hits it now. He's holding on the runner.
Well,
he wasn't holding
him
on. No, he won't. Might have to pull a ball out of his jersey.
Swing and a miss, 0-2. You ever think that in a game where you had a guy hit a ball to you and you think, there's no way he's going to hit another one to me? Next time up?
No, I think if he hits it to you once, you're going to be ready for it again. There's times where it may be a hitter will never hit it your way. You're saying, it's okay. I got this hitter off. Boom, it's on you. If they do it once, you're ready. But, throughout the course of a year, look at that. He's got to take some time out and get the bugs off his face and his eyelids.
I'd be afraid to take a deep breath
let's
in.
Not hope. They usually come for a little while. We've got 2 more games. We got tomorrow night and then a noon game on Thursday.
Slowly tap foul. The weird thing about it is we have seen in the past, I don't know, I guess it has to do with the lights, the way the lights are projected onto the field, but they don't seem to bother the fans in the stands. They're really concentrated up around the light towers and out on the field. Swing and a miss. Bauer strikes him out to end the inning. We've reached the 7th inning stretch with the Twins in front by a score of 4-2. 7th inning stretch. Brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Life is hard. Buying a car shouldn't be. (4-2), Minnesota leading it as we move to the bottom of the 7th inning. Tyler Holt is going to bat for David Murphy with a left-hander on the mound. Zach Walter, switch hitting DH, waits on deck. Pitch outside for ball 1. One-oh pitch, and Holt taking its ball 2. Upstairs, 3 balls, no strikes. Indians try to make their move here in the 7th inning. Getting that leadoff man aboard would be very important. Kansas City is starting to close the gap on Detroit. Oh, just did catch the outside corner. Holton thought it was ball 4. Instead, it's a 3-1 count as we take another look.
Well, certainly not one you're going to swing at. Not 3-0. You're trying to get on. You're down 2 runs. You might not swing at that even on a 3-1 pitch.
That did look low. And it was a late call for a strike, full count.
Check it out on our Nissan pitch tracker. Let's see what that says. It's got it right down at the knees.
I was looking at where Suzuki caught it. It looked low from where he caught it. Maybe it crossed the strike zone. I'll tell you what,
after the 3-0 and 3-1 pitch, he better swing here no matter where it's at.
Payoff pitch.
There it was.
That's right down the middle.
He came back 3-0 fastball, then a 3-1, 3-2 hook.
1 down, and we'll go out to Al Pulaski for a Mazda game break.
All right, Matt, let's head to Fenway Park. The AL East leading Orioles continue their assault on the other team's pitching. Couple of home runs here back-to-back. Alejandro De Aza is second of the ninth. Then Adam Jones is 25th of the year. 4-1 O's, Matt.
That's the score in Detroit, 4-1 in favor of the Tigers over Kansas City. Zach Walters takes low and away ball 1. They're in the 6th inning in the Motor City. Hits are even in that game at 6 apiece, but the Royals uncharacteristically have committed 2 errors in that game. Walter sends one high and foul and just out of play. Bill Chuck, who writes for GammonsDaily.com, had a story today on his website about the fact that the Orioles have such a huge lead, a double-digit lead. The last time they had a double-digit lead this late in the season was
97?
September 9th, 1979.
Oh,
when they
79?
They had a 12.5 game lead 35 years ago today. They're up 12.5 on the Brewers. How about Toronto that year? On this date, 1979, was in last place, a mere 51 games out.
What were they, eliminated at the break? Well, they only 2 years or 3 years in existence, coming into the league in 77.
High pop, shallow right. 2 down. Saturday baseball returns to Fox as the Yankees take on the Eastern Division leading Orioles on Fox. And then on FS1, the Padres take on the Diamondbacks. The action starts at 12:30 Eastern on Fox and continues at 7:30 Eastern on FS1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Michael Bourne has had a tough night. He has walked and then struck out twice. Aaron Thompson, since coming into the game, has retired all 5 Indians hitters that he has faced. And he's got Bourne down on the count here. Fights it off for a base hit into center field.
Hung him a breaking ball. Michael took advantage of it. Starts that ball at him. It stayed up. and it stayed in the inner part of the plate, so a good pitch for Borney to hit, and he puts it into right center field for a 2-out single. That's hit number 6 now for the Indians. That'll give Ramirez a chance.
Well, Jose Ramirez is swinging the bat well again. A single and a double tonight. And the only time they retired him, he had a line drive that was caught at first base by Mauer. That was back in the first inning, turned it into a double play. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. This was the infield single by Jose Ramirez. This was the double up the alley in left center with 2 outs in the 5th. Now he's got his 3rd hit of the night. Keeps the inning alive. And how about that? His last 2 hits, both coming with 2 outs.
Yeah, that another breaking ball from Thompson that Ramirez kept his hands back, and I think that's going to do it. A couple of 2-out hits will get him removed from the game. There you see a breaking ball going down and in. So Ramirez finds a hole.
Second time on this homestand that I can think of where we saw a left-hander removed for another left-hander to face a left-handed hitter. But that's what's going to happen here in the 7th, drive down 4-2. The Twins lead it. The Indians have 2 on with 2 out, and Brian Dunsing is coming into the game, presumably because he's had good career success against Michael Brantley. But if you're Ron Gardenhire, do you weigh that against what Dunsing has done more recently, which he's given up 8 runs in his last 10 outings?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the bullpen has been struggling for Minnesota. I don't know if it's the wear and tear, but Brantley does have a hit off him this year, but his numbers overall not very good. And he's got excellent numbers against Santana as well. Should Brantley reach?
Brantley goes after the first pitch and hits a little dribbler, first base side foul. And it's 0-1. Missed inside with it. And the count evens 1 ball, 1 strike. Pretty good career numbers against the Tribe for this left-hander. Last year, Dunsing had a career high in holds with 15. This year, though, it's been a different story for Dunsing. At times, he's been very good, obviously. But lately, he has not been as effective. Two-one pitch. Outside, and the count is now 3-1.
We're after ever pounding him inside on the first 3 pitches. He tried to go with that slider away, and Michael wasn't biting.
Bourne, the runner at second base. Ramirez, the tying run at first. And now the 3-1 to Brantley is popped up foul down the left side, and that will make it to the seats. So it's a full count, which means the speedsters, Bourne and Ramirez, will be off.
That's a good thing.
And if Brantley can find a gap, Ramirez could easily score from first with his speed. And the payoff pitch in the air, right field, sinking, but the catch is made by Arcia to end the inning. 2 more stranded by the Indians, 4-2 Minnesota. The Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, is coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. We go to the 8th inning. Trevor Bauer still chucking for the Tribe. Tyler Holt stays in the ballgame after pinch hitting for David Murphy. He's in right field. Action in the Cleveland bullpen. Bauer starts the 8th, just under 100 pitches on the night at 94. He's got the number 9 hitter, Aaron Hicks, and then the top of the order.
Now Lee and Zipchinski getting loose. I wonder if it's if anybody reaches, Bauer will be gone.
Jason Kipnis throws out Hicks. 1 pitch, 1 out. In-game box score brought to you by Hyundai. As I said before, Nothing has happened in this game for the Twins except for a span of 4 hitters. 4 hitters. They scored 4 runs in the 4th. That's it. The only 2 hitters to reach was Jordan Schaefer, who led off the game with a walk, and Kurt Suzuki, who was hit by a pitch with 2 outs in the 7th inning. Other than that, with 2 outs, it was Mauer, Vargas, Plouffe, and Arcia, who all had hits. All 4 scored in the 4th. And offensively, the Indians have not been able to muster much. And when they have had base runners, they haven't been able to get them in, with the exception of the 2nd inning when they had a 2-0 lead. Schaefer fouls it back out of play. Breaking ball swung out and missed, and Schaefer strikes out. That's 8 Ks for Trevor Bauer. And there are 2 down in the 8th inning.
Nice bite to this breaking ball. Gets him to swing, miss. It bounces in the dirt, and Gomes picks him and tags it.
Ryan Dozier all 3 times has grounded out, twice to short, once to third base. Fouled right back.
Not too many high fastballs does Brian Dozier not swing at. He gets after it.
You don't want him to hit him either, because when he does, they go a long way.
Yeah, he doesn't take a lot of them, I'll tell you that.
Skipped it in there, 1-1. Ran it in off the plate, 2-1. Bauer just over 100 pitches on the night. Ready with a 2-1. And Dozier drives one to center field. Bourne racing back. Makes the catch. Bauer with a 1-2-3 8th inning. 4-2 Minnesota. We'll send Santana, Kipnis, and Chisenhall to the plate against Brian Dunsing. Here is the pitch, and a swing and a miss by Santana.
Santana in his career against Dunsing, 1 for 23. We thought, yeah, I know. We thought that Brantley's numbers were rough, but
Center field, well hit. Back is Hicks. He's at the wall. He can't make the play, and now it hits his foot and rolls toward left center field, and Santana standing on first base.
He missed first base unless he was watching the ball. I was watching him go back, and that ball came down and hit Hicks right in the foot. Figuring Santana's going to be on third. He missed first base and had to go back and touch it. Had to be watching the ball. Let's take a look. That's a high fastball. He gets his second hit. 2 for 24 now. Watch the ball come straight down and ricochet off Hicks. Now watch Santana. He wasn't watching. Missed the base. He was watching the play, not where he was running. Not that he was running that hard anyway.
Oh, man.
So he's got to cruise into second base with a double.
Well, here's Jason Kipnis, doubled and scored in the second inning. And takes a called strike. Bounced it in front of the plate, and a heck of a stop by Suzuki.
Yeah, that one was really good because that one was way out in front of the plate. I'll tell you what, he's had his work cut out for him because the starter, Trevor May, threw about 14 pitches that were in the dirt right there, and he did have a wild pitch. That right there was number 16 for Suzuki, where he's had to go down and put a body in front, and then the one wild pitch from May. So he does a great job at just keeping everything in front of him.
Kipnis fights it off. Hanging in there, the ball and 2 strikes. Trying to get this Indians offense back rolling here in the 8th inning. They've had chances, but they've left 7 men on base tonight. 4 of the 7 have been in scoring position. Now the 1-2. Low and away again. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Looks like Dunsing wanted to talk to Suzuki. Just to tell him what he wants to throw, or at least how to go about these next 2 pitches.
Inside, he missed badly with the location that time. Full count. And Suzuki again wants to go out for a talk. Rick, I wonder, this late in the season, would Ron Gardenhire go to Glenn Perkins, for a multi-inning save situation? Ron Gardenhire might want to bring the trainer out here. So not an official visit here as they've got the trainer. I'm not sure what they saw. But it might have been the fact that he missed so badly with his location that Suzuki said, hey, something's not right here. That's probably why he went back out.
Well, it could be. I don't know if they had their bullpen up and getting loose to this point. If not, that could also just say, get the trainer ready. There you go. He was looking where he stepped. Gets the ball, just a little flinch. There's the rub. Now he's pulling his sleeve down now. Maybe a little grab at the elbow.
Yeah, it didn't look real good, did it?
Now that you know it didn't. Now that you mentioned it, you sort of shake it out. Talked his way in, though. You know, now the trainer's got to tell the manager all the way back. Well, he was in before the game. We gave him a little rub down or whatever.
Yeah, who knows?
You never know what happens.
What we do know is this. He's staying in the ball game, and it's a 3-2 count for Kipnis. And Dunsing's had plenty of time to think about the 3-2 pitch now. Here's the payoff. Kipnis to right field. Arcia makes the grab. Santana has to hold. One down.
Well, I know it's quite a ways away, but when the winter starts getting a little cold and you want to break away, you may want to go out to Arizona. You can choose from 3 exciting travel plans. You can book your trip today by calling 1-855-298-5444.
Lonnie Chisenhall will bat with 1 on and 1 out. 0 for 3 on the night. Had an RBI ground out back in the second. Got the Indians the early lead. This has been a team that all season long has been so good when they score first. But here tonight they scored first. Minnesota has scored the last 4 runs, though. The Indians were 50-22 coming into tonight when they scored first. Now they're trying to come from behind to win. 2-0. This almost seems hard to believe with as many walk-off wins as the Indians have this year. They're 1-21 at home when they trail after 7 innings. And a strike is called to count now 2-1. You would think for a team that has 11 walk-off victories that they might have more than just a single victory when trailing after 7 innings.
Oh.
To short. And a throw. It's a close play, but Chisenhall is out at first.
This may be one you want to look at.
2 down. Here comes Terry Francona.
I'll tell you, Santana was caught in between because he wasn't sure the pitcher was going to catch the ball, and you can't get caught there. Well, once it got by him, he continued to go to third base. And then the play, it was bang-bang at first base, I will say that. And it did look like he just got there before his foot comes down. Yes, he did. So it was bang-bang. Ball not hit that hard. And what do you think?
He's out.
Yeah, I thought so.
2 down, and it's going to bring up Yan Gomes. We're going to get another pitching change. So we've got a timeout here in the 8th with the Indians trailing at 4-2. Tying run will be at the plate when we come back. And the Indians are running out of time here tonight. Tire Express and Total Car Care is coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. 2 down in the bottom of the 8th, runner at third. And the batter will be Yan Gomes. He'll be facing Casey Fiend. 30-year-old right-hander, tied for second in the league with 24 holds. He's allowed a run in just 8 of his 34 appearances at home this year, but obviously the road can be a different story.
Well, you've got that runner out there at third base. You're the tying run at home plate.
And a strike called. On the road this year, Fiend has pitched in 33 games, and he has given up a dozen earned runs. Outside.
Well, an earned run for him right here would mean a tie ball game.
The runner at third belongs to Brian Dunsing. The man at the plate is the only one Fiend is concerned with. That's the tying run.
Did you see him look to the side thinking that ball was a strike?
To center field, it's going to drop for a base hit. It's a one-run game. Yan Gomes delivers his second run batted into the night, number 59 on the year, and it's a 4-3 Minnesota lead.
Yeah, good job. He's coming in to get the right-hander. What he did, he thought he had a strike, and then he hung a breaking ball, and Gomes took advantage of it. And the Indians do it now with 2 outs. Their turn. They wanted it away. It sort of just stayed up there, a little spinner that Gomes took advantage of. That's 9 hits now. It's a 4-3 ball game. We're going to get a pinch hitter now, Jason Giambi. Going to come up to the dish.
The pitch. Breaking ball, and it's inside for ball 1. Swing and a miss. Giambi has faced Casey Fiend one time and took him deep. This is truly like trying to catch lightning in a bottle for Terry Francona. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's had 53 at-bats on the year, spent most of the season on the disabled list. 2-1 pitch. Swing and a miss, and the count evens at 2-2. Left field near the line. Long run for Schaefer. Can't get there. And it will be a foul ball. Giambi stays alive.
Well, as deep as this outfield is, I'll be surprised if any outfielder can get there because they're playing almost on the warning track. They certainly don't want anything to hit into the gap. They're concerned about that tying run at first base. Giambi is obviously the go-ahead run. But if that ball had stayed fair, I think Schaefer would have had a tough time getting there.
This one's to left field and playable. Schaefer. And other than the 4-hitter span in the 4th inning, where they tagged him for 4 runs, he only allowed 2 base runners the rest of the night.
Yeah, unfortunately, a 9-pitch span ended up right now costing him the 4 runs. But other than that, 8 punch-outs, the 1 walk. And that walk led off the game, but boy, he threw the ball well tonight. Threw the ball well, and offensively they can't come back and help him. So Mark Zipchinski's coming on here in the 9th. At least for the first hitter. Because he's got Mauer, Vargas, Plouffe due up. J.B. Shuck goes into right field.
Joe Mauer, Kenny Vargas, and Trevor Plouffe for the Twins here in the 9th. And a first pitch strike in there from Zipchinski. Mauer, with 2 outs in the 4th inning, flared one down the left field line. Michael Brantley made a long run, gave a heck of an effort, but it just tipped off the end of his glove as he slid near the left field foul line and missed it by maybe a couple of inches. Yeah. Otherwise, it's in his glove. So Mauer's on with 2 outs, though. It's a 2-out double, okay. But then Kenny Vargas laced a double to right center field. Plouffe lined a base hit in the left field, and then Arcia homered to right field, and just like that in the span of, what did you say it was, 9 pitches
9
total?
9 pitches for the 4 hits, yes.
4 runs.
And then the last 3 guys, it was 3 pitches. And he had Vargas down 0-2 in that count before he got his double. Then a hanging breaking ball of Plouffe and a changeup to Arcia. And the next thing you know, we're looking at a 4-3 deficit. Well, they answered it. It was made at 4-2 at the time.
1-2 pitch. Almost chased, but did not. And it evens the count. Wow.
Look at Zipchinski. You know what? There's a number of pitchers today that look down in there and say, my goodness. And you know what? I got to agree. When you look at it, watch this. Where's that? Look at Zipchinski walking off. It's a strike's a strike. And he didn't call it, so now he's going to have to work. 3-2 count.
He checked. It was low, and he did not go around. Yeah,
now
it's
what
not
happens?
been a real good night for Alfonso Marquez behind the plate because he has.
You can't give
he's had too many guys looking in, giving second looks, looking. Where was that pitch?
When we show it on our pitch tracker, and it has, and I'm not saying it's the end all do all by any means, but you know what? A strike, call a strike.
Kenny Vargas doubled in a run back in that fourth inning. He's 1 for 3 on the night. Low and away. Outside he missed. Two and one to count. Vargas cuts and misses, and he finds himself in the hole, or finds himself back to even now at 2-2 after he was ahead in a 2-0 situation. Swing and a miss. Zipchinski comes back to strike him out, 1 away.
Good pitching right there. A couple of sliders down and in, and Francona going to come out and remove him, but he came back nicely in the 2-0. Those last two sliders gets him to swing over the top, and he gets the first out.
So Zipchinski will exit. And he'll try not to yell at Alfonso Marquez as he does.
Yeah, there's not much he can do about it now. He knows he made a good pitch. He comes back and gets his other out. Now you just mosey on in.
4-3 Minnesota. They've got a runner aboard with one out. The batter is Trevor Plouffe, and the new Indians pitcher is Scott Atchison. Plouffe is 1 for 3, drove in a run back in the fourth. And it's up high for ball one.
He tied it and then won it, right?
2-0.
Well, I'm no kidding. I could have told you that. I didn't see the highlights. He was blooming in September.
In the air, center field, back is Bourne. He'll make the catch, 2 down. The batter will be Oswaldo Arcia, who hit a 2-run homer back in the fourth inning. And that now is the difference in this ball game. They made it 4-2 at the time. The Indians have since cut into that deficit, but they still trail by a run, and now they're staring down the unenviable task of having to face Glenn Perkins in the ninth. Breaking ball over for a strike. Jared Burton up in the bullpen. Maybe Perkins isn't available.
Yeah, he's not available. I think he's got a stiff neck or some neck issues. I don't think he is available today.
Fouled right back. One and two the count with 2 down and a runner at first here in the ninth. 3 on the right side for Cleveland on the infield. Chisenhall on the left by himself. The 1-2 pitch is up and away from Atchison, and that evens the count. Oh, my. Another close one. Does not go the way of the pitcher.
Let's take a look at it. Another pitch that's going to be on the outside part of the plate.
Just off. That was
I'll
off.
give him that one.
Yep.
That one was off the plate.
Runner goes in the 3-2. Line to center field. Bourne will throw it to second as Maurer goes all the way to third.
Well, off and running, you know you're going to be having the head start, so you can get to third base there. Bourne wisely just flips it in. So 2 outs, and Arcia strokes it. That ball was elevated a little bit. It's a line drive right into center field. That's hit number 5. Four consecutive hits.
Suzuki with 2 on and 2 out. Rolls 1 to short. Ramirez waits back, goes to second for the inning-ending force, and will go to the bottom of the ninth. Last chance for the Indians, down a run. Furniture keys to the game. For Trevor Bauer, he avoided the early trouble. It was one bad span in the fourth inning. 4 batters, 4 runs were able to score. For the Indians, middle of the order, that's where their runs have come from tonight, but they need one more to tie it, 2 possibly to win it. Jarrett Burton will try to close this one out now for Minnesota. Burton has 1 save on the year, but he's a veteran reliever. He's a guy with 300 career appearances under his belt. 196 of those have come with Minnesota. His career, I believe he has 8 career saves. So he'll be going up against Zach Walters, Michael Bourne, and Jose Ramirez here in the bottom of the ninth.
Well, you know, like I know, that ninth inning's just a little tougher for those guys that aren't used to it. Indians have had a lot of success on walk-offs. Can they do it again? Can they at least get one to tie it and keep this ball game going? You know, you look at the Tribe, and they're in pretty much a must-win situation every time they take the field.
Pitch is outside, ball 1. Good patience by Walters.
Boy, it seems like there have been a lot of 2-0 counts tonight, you know?
It's been the order of the day for the Indians.
It really seems like it.
And on the 2-0 pitch, Walters rolls over on it. 1 away. Top of the order, Michael Bourne.
Tebow lets me know that there have been 10 2-0 counts.
The Indians had their first 2 on in the 4th inning, but did not take advantage of that. Most of their other opportunities tonight have come with 2 outs. And that's always a tough way to go. Though, that's how Minnesota scored all 4 of theirs tonight. 2 outs, nobody on base. And they struck for a 4 spot. Burton deals, and Bourne takes low and inside. Bourne has walked, struck out twice, and singled his last time up. Fly ball, right center field. Playing deep, the outfielders converge, and Hicks makes the grab, 2 down. Down to their last out, Jose Ramirez, the batter. He's had a heck of a night. He has hit the ball well all 4 times tonight. He had a line drive his first time up right at the first baseman, Mauer, who turned it into a double play. Next 3 times up, an infield single, a double, and then a base hit with 2 outs in the 7th inning. To center field, off the end of the back. Hicks is there, makes the grab. The Indians go quietly here in the 9th. 1, 2, 3. And they fall flat against the Twins as Minnesota takes the series opener in this critical game tonight. Indians fall by a final of 4-3. That drops the Indians to 74 and 69 on the year. Minnesota goes to 62 and 82 this season. Trevor May gets the win. He went 5 innings and gets his 2nd win against 4 losses. Trevor Bauer takes the loss. He falls to 5 and 8 on the year. Less than 10,000 here tonight to witness this ball game. 9,489 the paid attendance. And that brings us to our key play of the game, brought to you by KeyBank.
Well, we talked about it all night. It's going to go back to that 4th inning. There were 2 out, nobody on. Mauer gets this ball, and Brantley comes so close to catching it. It falls as the first hit of the game, a double. Then a double to get him on the board. They had back-to-back hits, and then the very next pitch, a hanging breaking ball. They tied the score. And then the very next pitch after that, a changeup out over the plate. Arcia hits a 2-run home run, and that's pretty much all Minnesota did all night long. Look at Trevor Bauer in shock. That is going to be our Key Bank key play of the game, brought to you by Key Bank.
Final score, Minnesota 4, Cleveland 3. Indians Live presented by Conrad's coming up next.